We just had a bill on the floor of the Senate, a 1.8 in all funds, $1.8 billion borrowing bill, the biggest borrowing bill we've ever seen in the state of Minnesota. This was excessive. It was going to add an additional $200 million in ongoing debt service. Our members put forward a compromise borrowing bill that got a lot of support from members of our caucus. Now the borrowing bill the Democrats put up, they really had not come to us and asked us for any support whatsoever. They assumed the votes were there. The people of Minnesota want us to focus on priorities. We need to work on transportation. We need to work on tax relief. We've done nothing on those issues. Instead, we have what I would characterize an unrealistic, not even a serious bill on the part of the Democrat majority to put $1.8 billion of borrowing out there and expect that we're just going to line up and vote for it. We need to get serious. We got a lot of work to do. We got not much time. So we think today's exercise was sort of an exercise in futility by the members of the majority. They need to work with us, need to work with the people of the state, and make some serious compromise. I don't know, Dave, do you want to make a couple of comments on the bill? Your bill? Or any bill?
Well, we worked pretty hard today to put together a compromise bill that we thought would work for Minnesota. Honestly, we on the Republican Senate side had to stretch to do that, but we thought given the circumstances and wanting to get a bonding bill out, we did stretch, and I think we put a pretty good bill together that deals with the core issues of Minnesota and carries us forward, as Senator Stump indicated that we wanted to do. But the idea that we'd ever pass a $1.8 billion bonding bill around here is, I think, a lost and forgotten kind of idea. We're not going to do that, and so coming together, trying to make some level of compromise was what we attempted to do. And okay, the bill didn't pass, but and we got a lot of work to do, but hopefully we can find our way to the table once more and put a bonding bill together that can work for certainly the Senate. We'll at least hold it, wait for the House, and hopefully make this work this year. So I'm hopeful and optimistic we can make that work, but we got to have the will certainly of the majority.
Senator Fox says this probably means there won't be a bonding bill. Is that a little too soon to write the
I'm sure he would say that, but we've got plenty of time to do a bonding bill. There are a couple other issues that we need to work on as well. I don't see a lot of movement on those issues. As Senator Senjem said, we put forward an alternative that is reasonable. The House has got a bill that I think is even less expensive than the one that we put on the floor. There's a lot of room to negotiate, a lot of room to compromise. We just need to get serious on the part of the DFL majority.
Do you have a bill, Mr. Speaker? Would you favor a nearly $1 billion project? I think you voted for Senator Senjem's.
I think, this is a bill that Senator Senjem and others put together, and it got some support from members of our caucus, not all members, but I think it at least is a place to start a conversation, and that's what we need to have. $1.8 billion is not a conversation. It was take it or leave it, and if you don't give us what we want, then we're done. Is that how we do this in this state? I don't think so. We want to have something serious. That 1.8 is not serious.
Well, Mr. Speaker, do you have a bill?
We are working on a bill. Obviously, we set a target of $600 million. I'd like to say thank you to the Republican senators who really stood up for taxpayers today and said that a $1.8 billion bonding bill is excessive. I'd just like to call people's attention to if you add up the amount that we passed in bonding last year with the $1.8 billion that Democrats were proposing today in the Senate, that this would have been twice the 10-year average for bonding. It's super excessive, and it's not reasonable at all. I also will remind folks that this bill did not originate in the House. It doesn't matter if the bill had passed or failed, it wouldn't have met constitutional muster. The bonding bill must originate in the House. It will originate in the House, but we're also, in addition to working on bonding before the next 2 weeks are up, we're going to work on tax relief for Minnesotans, and we're going to work on funding our roads and bridges, and those are our priorities. Before we talk about borrowing more money and putting more debt on the backs of Minnesotans, we're going to talk about funding our roads and bridges and giving some money back to Minnesotans with the resources we already have, with almost $1 billion that we have in surplus revenue sitting on the bottom line right now.
Mr. Speaker, you be borrowing money for roads and bridges for part of that?
Part of our bonding bill will be part of our transportation plan, and even the governor himself is proposing that as part of his transportation plan. That's very reasonable, and we have said from the beginning, more than being concerned about the size of a bonding bill, we're concerned about putting a bonding bill together that frankly every member of the legislature should want to vote for, because it's very heavy in transportation infrastructure. Maybe it's water infrastructure, maybe it's rail safety projects, but things that Minnesotans see as vitally important, either regionally or on a statewide basis. And unfortunately, Democrats failed to put that bill together today, and that's why the bill didn't pass.
Mr. Speaker, given that transportation will be a significant part of your bill, and you've said that right from the start, is it reasonable then to get something out of this session to move at least some of the way toward Democrats along the line of what Senator Hann's caucus proposed, closer to $1 billion than $600 million?
You know, I think the amendment that the Republicans put up today is a much more reasonably sized bill. That would be about our 10-year average when you add it up with what we did last year. We think that's more reasonable, but obviously I think even more so than the size, it's what is the content, and we want to make sure that it's heavy in those sorts of transportation infrastructure projects. I have had Democrats tell me that they don't want transportation projects in the bill because it'll displace other things. Well, you know what? I think maybe the Minnesotans would expect that. I think they want to see our roads and bridges fixed, and they think if you're going to borrow some money, that's a good thing to spend it on, is our road and bridge infrastructure. 80% or near that number of Minnesotans support investing in our road and bridge infrastructure. So let's get that done. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get together. There's a lot of time left. There's a lot of room for compromise, and we need to see the Democrats come our direction a little bit. And I'm very optimistic we're going to have a successful end of session.
So you could be open then to a bonding bill closer to $1 billion than the $600 million you've talked about?
You know, let's talk about what's included in it, but I'm open. We're not drawing lines in the sand today, other than to say that $1.8 billion is excessive, and we're not going to support that kind of a project. And I'm happy and thankful that that Senate Republicans stood up for the taxpayers and said, you know what, we need to find a more reasonable bill, one that can get more votes. That's what you're doing when you're putting together a bonding bill, trying to find a bill that can pass both chambers. It's the one thing that we're going to do that has to pass in a bipartisan fashion in both chambers. And it's really the test of how well we can work together. And today, Democrats in the Senate failed that test.
Does this play into the narrative that this is looking like a do-nothing session?
The what?
The narrative that it looks like a do-nothing session.
I know that certainly Democrats in the House and I hope nobody else wants to create a narrative that this will be a do-nothing session. Absolutely not. Like I said earlier, it didn't make a difference whether this bill today passed or failed. Our Constitution very clearly says that a bonding bill must originate in the House. This bill did not. It would not have met constitutional muster. Even if this bill had passed, we would have had to amend it into a different bill that did start in the House. So this didn't really make a lot of difference today what happened with this bill, but I think it sent a strong message that it's time for Democrats in the Senate and Democrats in the House, frankly, to roll up their sleeves and work with everybody on the issues that Minnesotans care about, and that's what we're committed to doing.
Mr. Speaker, it sounds like the Senate is going to make an offer on transportation funding tomorrow. Is any offer they make that includes a tax increase a non-starter?
Well, we look forward to seeing an offer from them tomorrow that doesn't include a gas tax, and that frankly will take us right back to where we were last November. So we're kind of still trying to get back to where we were in November when the governor said that a gas tax was dead. The bottom line is, with a $900 million surplus, Minnesotans don't want more money coming out of their budget to pay for something they've already given us the money to pay for. We have more than enough resources to pay for road and bridge infrastructure and make a significant investment, and I think we need to do what Minnesotans expect us to do. Let's focus on what they care about, what's important to them, and that'll help us get our job done before the end of session.
Cab fees or the Metro Transit sales tax?
Again, we're not drawing lines in the sand. I'm eager to see what their offer is tomorrow, and hopefully, I think in order for us to see it as a realistic offer, there needs to be no gas tax. So I think that's what you should all be looking for tomorrow.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.